Hi, and welcome to our video of the UNESCO World Heritage town of Provins in the Île-de-France region of north-central France. It's the first destination of our 2,000 mile plus road trip in our Polestar EV, and the route we've taken is 261 miles from Calais, and we've stopped twice to recharge, the second really in prep for the next day. There'll be more on the road trip later, but for now let's take a look at Provins. We're going to start in the Place de Châtel, right in the heart of medieval Provins, just outside our accommodation, the Hotel au Vivre-en-Par. Even under an overcast late summer sky, there's something quite magical about this place. The worn stone, the timbered houses, and the echoes of a town that once thrived on medieval trade. Provins was one of the great Champagne fair towns, drawing merchants from across Europe. A lot of fabric from this time remains, so it's for this reason it was granted UNESCO Heritage status in 2001. If you want to know more about that, I'll pop a link in the description. In fact, there'll be a link for every point I reference, so if you want more information, you know where to look. We're going to make our way to one of the medieval town gates, and as we head that way, I'd just like to say, if you're enjoying this video, then why not give us a like? And if you enjoy my style of video, then why not consider subscribing? And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the rest of this trip and any of our other travels. Anyway, Provins medieval fairs were a big thing, organised by the Counts of Champagne, hence the name. They attracted merchants from across Europe, including England, where cloths, spices, leathers, furs, wine and precious goods were traded. In the Caveau du Saint-Esprit opposite, you'll find vaulted cellars where goods were stored. You can visit this and other medieval treasures with the Provins Pass. The link's below. We've reached one of the town's medieval gates, and this is the Porte de Jouy. Built in the 12th century and enlarged in the 13th, it links up with the town's defensive walls. If you want to experience a taste of medieval Provins, then you may want to visit the town during the medieval festival in June. You'll need to book early and there's additional costs, but I bet it'll be fun. Now back to the walls. You can follow the steps down to the lower level, or on some of the restored sections of the wall you can walk along it, but they don't complete a full circuit of the town. In the western corner is a show known as the Eagles of the Ramparts, which lasts about 45 minutes in a seated area in the corner of the walls. There's a link in the description for more information, and we were lucky to catch the moment of release from the outside of the walls. From the walls and this route around, you get an idea of the strategic importance of Provins. It's at this corner we discover the town's cemetery, and Janice cannot miss the opportunity to take a look around. Are there any other taphophiles out there? Drop us a comment, I'd love to know. Although the war graves do interest me. Young lives lost, stories never to be told. We now return to the walls and continue our short walk. The aim is to return to the town via another of the town's gates, the Porte Saint-Jean or St John's Gate. I have to be honest, I find it amazing that it's still a route into the town for regular cars. But it is, and I know, because that's how we approach Provins. One word: spectacular. Anyway, one final look at the walls before we make our way back into town. And we're heading towards the Place de Châtel. And on our route back we come across the Grange dîmes, or the Tithe Barn, another slice of medieval history dating from the 12th century. As we pass through the Place de Châtel, we're heading to another medieval tower, and being a little nosy as we amble through town. I know this looks all very sleepy. It's about 3:30 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, but from our research I also know this is a town of two halves. We have reached our next monument, Tour César, or Caesar's Tower, and despite its name it has nothing to do with Caesar or the Romans. It was built in the 12th century to serve as a town lookout, and today you can still climb it to get those views, all part of the Provins Pass. I think it goes without saying, but if you plan to visit, there is no lift, and to reach the viewpoint you have to climb some very narrow spiral staircases. Also check availability, as it's open seasonally, and I don't want you to be disappointed. We've now arrived at Place Saint-Quiriace, with the collegiate church of the same name in the background, with its distinctive dome. Again, construction started in the 12th century with grand plans, but if you look at this face it appears a little bland. That's because it was never completed. By the 14th century, Provins' importance on the world markets had waned and trade routes shifted, so the money dried up and we end up with the truncated church we see today. But that didn't stop Joan of Arc from attending Mass here with King Charles VII in 1429, on the way from his coronation at Reims Cathedral. Anyway, let's take a look inside. The first thing that catches your eye is how light and how uncluttered it is. Look up to check out the dome, a 17th century addition, and what a work the centre of the transept is. I'm now going to leave you to enjoy the interior, and I'll rejoin you when we step outside. Back outside again and we get a glimpse of the Tour César, but we're going to be heading in the opposite direction towards the second part of Provins, passing the souterrains de Provins, more underground cellars you can visit as part of a guided tour with the Provins Pass. So we've now reached the Rue de Val, and this is part 2 of Provins. It's still historic, but now it's lined with tabacs to restaurants with everything in between. As we make our way through the lower town, our luck with the weather runs out, so I suggest we head into La Marionnière, where I can enjoy a well-earned beer until the rain passes. I don't get much of a break before we head past the town hall and onto Place Saint-Ayoul, where once again you'll find a church of the same name. Also just off the square, the Tour Notre-Dame de Val, another medieval structure and the last remnants of the Notre-Dame de Val church. The Church of Saint-Ayoul is probably the oldest historic monument in Provins. This building dates from the 11th century and was expanded as the town grew. However, an earlier church stood on this spot way before that. Now, as we take a look inside, my final thoughts on Provins. It is a great town to explore if you love history, Even if you don't, it's quite special. We use this as a stopover, but I could have easily spent a day here. In fact, we may return one day, perhaps as a last destination before we return to the UK. And perhaps we'll pick up that Provins pass this time. Tomorrow's another day, and our road trip will be a relatively short hop of 150 miles to Semur-en-Auxois. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to catch that and more of our travels through France and beyond. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and happy travels.